Hola chicos, ¿qué hacen acá, chicos?
To hear Oscar Flores tell it, teaching these DC preschoolers is the best decision he's ever made.
We're learning about shapes, colors.
Right on. I mean, I would imagine you can see lights turning on.
Oh yeah.
But Oscar says he may have to quit this job he loves because of choices DC Mayor Muriel Bowser made in her proposed annual budget. Oscar could work in Gaithersburg, where he lives, but instead commutes all the way to DC because of a subsidy the district offers its child care workers. For him, it adds nearly $10,000 to his salary every year. For those with advanced degrees, the subsidy could be as much as $25,000.
It's the reason why I'm able to come all the way down here, you know.
He's talking about DC's Early Childhood Educator Pay Equity Fund, a first-of-its-kind program launched 4 years ago to boost child care workers' pay across the district. The goal is to pay qualified workers, some who have college degrees, livable wages so they don't lose them to higher-paying school districts. But this year, the mayor eliminated the fund in her budget proposal as she seeks to close a $1.1 billion budget gap. In an April budget hearing, she did call the program laudable.
But it does not respond to what people are saying. We want more quality spots, and we want them more places. And we want it to be less expensive.
But Jeannine Piacenza, the executive director of CommuniKids Preschool, disagrees. She says the Pay Equity Fund helps attract and keep qualified teachers who, in turn, provide a better education to kids.
If there's no Pay Equity Fund, teachers are going to stay closer to home because the salary difference is going to be negligible.
Slash the fund, and she says she'll have to raise tuition or reduce the number of children she can serve.
It's baffling as to why the mayor is now targeting these programs because we have budget deficits when we're giving $1 billion, maybe more, for a football stadium.
What do you mean?
The new RFK stadium redo.
Oh yeah, that. This year, DC is paying millions and millions of dollars out of an eventual $1.1 billion to help the Commanders build a new stadium here at the RFK site. Why do you connect the two?
Well, because where are our priorities?
We took that concern directly to the mayor last month.
If you're suggesting that we shouldn't create thousands of jobs and millions of dollars of economic development on the banks of the Anacostia River, I mean, I don't even think that's a serious question.
District leaders have pushed back on criticisms like Jeannine, saying you can't just move money around like that the city budget has really two separate pots. The first is the operating budget. That's what pays salaries and paves roads, things like that. The second is this capital budget for giant investments like the stadium, some that could yield revenue for the city eventually. But Shira Markoff with the DC Fiscal Policy Institute says those funds are not really as separate as DC leaders say.
Each year in our operating budget, we have to pay the debt service for the borrowing that we have done to pay for those things in the capital budget.
In the upcoming fiscal year, DC will pay at least $35 million in bond payments, repaying money they already borrowed for that RFK project and Capital One arena renovations.
So that certainly affects the bottom line of the operating budget.
Markoff doesn't disagree it's a tough year for the district's bottom line, but does disagree that cutting programs like the Pay Equity Fund, which accounts for less than 1% of the budget, is the best way to do it.
The mayor's budget proposal, I would say, really balances the budget on the backs of those workers and on the backs of the most vulnerable DC residents.
¿Te gusta Mac o no te gusta?
Oscar says the subsidy, it's not making him rich. Not even enough for him to afford to live in DC, but it is enough to get him to the district to help teach the district's youngest. What would you lose if you left it?
Oh my God, my happiness a little bit, you know. I love my job, you know. I think it's one of the greatest things I ever decided to do.
You can imagine those kids would miss Oscar as well. Just a few years ago, a study from research firm Mathematica found this equity program cost the district about $75 million. The mayor's proposal zeroes out all of the subsidy payments for those child care teachers. Next year's bond payments for the stadium project and the arena alone would pay about half that amount. In a statement, the mayor's office did tell us while it's cutting the fund, it's still offering, quote, the nation's most expansive child care support system with paid parental leave, universal pre-K, and child care subsidies.
I'm sure a difference that will be felt in the classroom and in the city altogether.
If the cuts hold, for sure.
Right. And is that something that they would consider bringing back into a future budget?
They may. right? If more money comes in, and there is a possibility that council could find more money in a battle they're having with the CFO currently, some of that money could come back. There is also money that could come from these stadium projects eventually, right? We do expect them to one day make money. These are supposed to be revenue-generating projects. So we ask the very serious question of the mayor and her team: when will they start to turn a profit? That's what every investor would want to know. If you're going to spend $1.6 billion on the stadium and Capital One Arena, when is it going to make more money than that?
Yeah.
We gave them weeks. Incomplete answer. They can't give us that date at all.